Welcome to Crafted Nest, where timeless charm meets DIY creativity, one garden corner at a time. In today's video, we're taking you on a poetic journey through 30 breathtaking arbor ideas, inspired by rustic Italian elegance, antique textures, and practical real-life builds you can actually recreate in your own outdoor space. Whether you have a tiny patio, a narrow side yard, or a sun-drenched balcony, these ideas were crafted with your lifestyle in mind. Simple, soulful, and full of warmth. From rose-draped entry arches to moss-kissed stone pathways, each concept is designed to inspire you to slow down, create with purpose, and turn your garden into a story worth stepping into. Don't forget to subscribe for more garden DIYs, thoughtful design inspiration, and real-world ideas that fit your space, big or small. If you enjoy this video, give it a like and tell us in the comments which arbor idea would you love to build first. There's something undeniably timeless about a structure that feels like it's been standing for centuries. Even if you built it just last week, this rustic Roman column arbor, flanked by stone-textured pillars and softened by age, brings with a sense of dignity, like the entryway to a secret villa garden where stories are whispered between the wind and the vines. Nestled at the edge of a small backyard, this arbor doesn't try to overwhelm the space. It invites. Gravel crunches softly beneath your feet as you approach, and a faint scent of lavender lingers in the air. The columns, made from lightweight concrete or molded composite, are surprisingly easy to install, especially when paired with prefabricated bases or reinforced wooden cores. If you look closely, you'll see the imperfections have been left alone. Faux cracks and faded paint that mimic erosion, as though the arbor has endured sun and rain for decades. DIY lovers can recreate this look by wrapping PVC or wooden posts in stone effect cladding panels, or using paint techniques that mimic limestone. A dab of green moss or thyme planted at the base brings authenticity to the illusion. You can even age your structure using a simple mix of lime wash and sand for that sun-kissed patina. In the evening, when light turns golden, this arbor frames a view like a painting, highlighting not just your path, but the space beyond it. It doesn't shout for attention. It simply belongs. Like all good things in a garden, it grows into its story with time. At the heart of the old world garden lies a frame not made to dominate, but to guide. This wrought iron archway, aged and silent, weaves its story with the help of vines that grow as slowly as trust. Grapevines spill over the top, curling and climbing with their determined grace, as if remembering the arbors of forgotten vineyards in the hills of Tuscany. Beneath its arch, light is filtered through green, a dance of shade and leaf. The iron itself is humble, weathered in spots, its black fading into bronze and rust. Yet there's elegance in the scroll work, the gentle spiral of its frame that seems to echo the twist of tendrils above. You don't need a full vineyard to make this real. Any sunny spot near a wall or path will do. The trick lies in choosing the right vine, a hardy table grape or decorative climber like Reliance or Canadas will thrive with sun and patience. Build or buy a simple metal archway. Even a lightweight kit from a garden center will work, and anchor it well into the soil. Rust can be embraced, not feared. It adds soul. Over time, the structure disappears behind the life it supports. The grapes arrive slowly, small green bulbs that swell and darken through the season. Some are sweet, some are left for the birds, but all of them speak a place of slowness, of summer. In the golden hour, when the day slips into warmth and wine, this arbor does its best work. not as decor, but as a quiet host, inviting you to linger a little longer in your own corner of Italy. Not every garden needs grand entrances. Sometimes a single gesture, the curve of iron against stone, the promise of green reaching up, is enough to soften a space and invite beauty to take root. This half-arch wall arbor is just that, a whisper of architecture, gently mounted against a wall where morning light settles and vines stretch skyward with hope. It doesn't dominate. It frames. It uplifts. For narrow patios, small city yards, or side gardens that feel a little forgotten, this design turns blank walls into living poetry. Installation is modest, 2 anchor points and a sturdy base. Use powder-coated iron or repurpose a vintage gate with curved edges for added charm. Position beside a kitchen window, outdoor sink, or entry door, and plant a fast-growing vine like clematis, jasmine, or even nasturtium in pots at its feet. What makes it special isn't its size, but its intimacy. This is a design that feels personal, one that makes the act of walking into your garden feel like crossing a threshold. Over time, as green fills the empty spaces and tendrils curl over the arch, it becomes more than decor. It becomes part of your ritual, a place you pass through with your coffee in the morning or rest beside at dusk when the day exhales. And in the quiet of the evening, when the air smells of warm brick and trailing flowers, the half-arch glows gently under its own stillness. No grandeur needed. Sometimes, a garden isn't meant to be seen all at once. It's meant to be entered slowly, step by step, breath by breath, through scent and stillness. This arbor marks not just a physical transition, but an emotional one. A moment to pause before you pass, to soften your pace as lavender brushes gently at your ankles. Built from reclaimed wood or rough cedar, the arbor stands weathered and humble, holding no attention until the sun finds it. Beneath it lies a path of pale gravel, crunchy and light underfoot, framed on both sides with mature lavender plants swaying just enough to whisper when the breeze arrives. To recreate this moment in your own garden, start with the layout. Paths don't need to be straight. Let them curve slightly, like a quiet conversation. Lay crushed granite or pale pea gravel, and install a simple wooden arbor frame over the midpoint of the walkway. Then flank the path with rows of lavender, hidcote, or Provence varieties do well in most climates and offer both fragrance and fullness. The magic happens over time. As the lavender matures, bees hum near your knees, and the air begins to carry that sharp, calming scent even when you're not aware of it. In summer, the sun bleaches a path and the purple deepens. In winter, even bare, the arch stands like a memory. Every garden deserves a moment like this, a passage between chaos and calm, marked by nothing more than wood, stone, and the bloom of something soft. Some gardens speak with grandeur. Others just smile quietly and open a little wooden gate, the kind that creaks a bit and carries the scent of rosemary on the breeze. This burnt sienna trellis gate is one of those gestures. Simple, warm, and quietly welcoming. Set between 2 large clay planters, the gate arches with modest grace. Its color, a soft earthy terracotta, feels sun-baked even on cloudy days. It doesn't try to match its surroundings. It complements them. The lattice sides are ready for anything willing to climb. Nasturtium, sugar snap peas, or even ivy if you're patient. This idea is beautifully practical for small patios. You don't need a grand fence, just a way to say, here begins something special. Start with a basic wooden gate kit, or even upcycle old closet doors or panels. Paint it in a blend of orange ochre and whitewash to create that aged Mediterranean warmth. Sand the edges gently to let the wear show. A trellis on each side, nailed directly into the uprights, adds the height and drama without weight. If space is tight, this small structure defines without confining. It marks a boundary while letting air and sunlight through. And when you walk through it, with herbs brushing your legs and a chipped stone path underfoot, it feels like you've entered somewhere made for slow afternoons and gentle meals. This trellis gate doesn't demand attention. It invites presence. And in a garden, sometimes that's all you really need. Not all things at age grow tired. Some, like cedar in the garden, only grow more graceful, letting wind and weather etch their stories into every knot and line. This archway, built from distressed cedar, doesn't shine. It settles. It blends. It feels as though it has always stood there, even if your hands raise it just this spring. Its lattice panels aren't just for decoration. They hold promise of climbing vines, of trailing leaves that shift with the breeze, of shade that dapples the path beneath in quiet rhythms. Whether you plant clematis passion flower or old-fashioned sweet peas, the lattice gives them space to rise. Cedar is a beautiful material for the DIY gardener. Naturally rot-resistant, it ages with softness that paint can't fake. To get the look right, don't be afraid of imperfection. Leave the wood raw, or lightly brush it with a weathering solution. Steel wool soaked in vinegar overnight works wonders. Let time and sun do the rest. The lattice, cut from the same cedar or repurposed fencing, can be nailed or screwed between upright posts. You'll want to secure the base deeply. Cedar is light, but the wind loves to dance with it. And once your plants begin to climb, the structure will grow stronger with every leaf. This arbor isn't flashy. It doesn't need to be. It's the kind of presence that makes a garden feel grounded, a little weathered, a little worn, but full of life and perfectly at home. There are places in a garden that pull you in slowly, not with color or size, but with scent. And if you follow that soft sweetness in the air, you may find yourself beneath a jasmine-covered tunnel, where the world outside quiets and the garden begins to hum. This arbor doesn't ask much in the way of space. Just a narrow path, a few upright posts, and a gardener's patience. But once the jasmine finds its rhythm, the structure disappears into green. Tendrils wrap tightly, leaves reach upward, and within a season or two, the frame becomes a tunnel of delicate white blossoms. Jasmine isn't just beautiful, it's deeply forgiving. It thrives in sun and partial shade, and once it grips, it holds. For DIYers, the frame can be built from simple treated pine or bamboo, anchored firmly with crossbeams. Overhead slats help guide the growth into an arch, keep the structure slim. This is not for grandeur, but for intimacy. You can use star jasmine, Trachelospermum jasminoides, for its fragrance and evergreen nature, or try summer jasmine, Jasminum officinale, if you live in cooler zones. The trick is to weave the vines early and train them gently as they climb. A little twine, a little time. In the evenings, just before the sky turns indigo, the blossoms begin to glow and the air fills with that unmistakable jasmine warmth, soft, citrusy, and deeply comforting. You'll find yourself walking slower, maybe sitting beneath it longer than you meant to. That's the gift of this arbor. A place to linger, a place to breathe in beauty, without needing anything more. Some garden features feel like they were placed for the soul, not the eye. A wrought iron arbor, delicate in form yet rooted in strength, arching quietly over a matching scrollwork bench. This is not a showpiece. It's an invitation. The bench rests beneath, like a secret waiting to be found. Morning light spills through the climbing vines, roses or wisteria, perhaps, and settles on the cold iron, warming it slowly. You can sit here alone with your thoughts, or share it with someone without needing to speak. That's the kind of space this arbor creates. Not just a seat, but a mood. Creating your own is simpler than it looks. The arbor can be sourced pre-made from garden centers or constructed from curved steel tubing. Don't fear rust, let it in. A bench that a little worn has stories to tell. Match the curves of the bench with the top of the arbor if you can, or let them contrast gently. Underfoot, crushed granite or pea gravel keeps weeds down and adds a sound. the soft crunch of arrival. Around the base, plant low lavender or creeping thyme. These plants don't just frame the view, they anchor it. Let the vines grow wild, but not untamed. Train them once a month. Give them something to cling to. Much like the bench itself, they need time and quiet to become part of the place. In spring, this bench becomes a soft escape. In summer, a shaded refuge. And in winter, even bare, it remains, a promise that the garden remembers how to bloom again. Every garden has forgotten corners, that narrow stretch between house and fence, the sliver of space too tight for furniture, too overlooked for grandeur. But even here, beauty belongs. And sometimes it starts with something small, like a mini trellis arbor, just wide enough to walk through. This design doesn't demand much space, yet when placed right, it can shift everything. A once neglected passage becomes a green tunnel of motion and scent. Morning glories, sweet peas, or pole beans climb upward, turning plain wood into a living wall of color. The arbor itself can be made from scrap timber, pine, bamboo, or old fence pickets repurposed into upright frames. Crosshatch the side with lattice or wire mesh for climbing support. You don't even need deep footings. A couple of large planter boxes filled with soil can anchor each leg, while offering a home to vines below. For tiny gardens, light matters. Place this arbor where it catches soft sun, or where filtered light reflects off the side of the house. Let the trellis do double duty, framing the view from a kitchen window or marking the turn into your vegetable patch. As the vines grow taller, the arbor transforms from structured silhouette, a quiet interruption in the path that slows your step and lifts your gaze. It's not the size of the space that matters. It's the care you give it and the intention you place within it. And when the blooms arrive, soft, reaching, setting the air in quiet defiance of the narrowness, you'll know this tiny frame held far more than you expected. If you've ever walked under blooming wisteria in the spring, you know the feeling. A hush in the air, a curtain of lavender blossoms swaying just above your head, and a lightness, not just in color, but in mood. That's what this olive green pergola arbor holds. Not structure, but atmosphere. Painted in a dusty olive tone that blurs a line between man-made and nature. This pergola doesn't try to stand out. It settles in, like an old friend who's always been part of the garden. Overhead, cross beams offer just enough support for the heavy arms of wisteria, which come down in waves each year, perfuming the breeze. Building your own is as simple or intricate as you wish. Cedar or pine beams, treated for weather, can be painted in soft green and sanded at the edges for wear. Anchor the posts deep, because wisteria, once mature, grows with boldness. You'll want overhead slat space wide enough to allow light, but close enough to cradle vines as they wander. Plant wisteria at the base, but choose wisely. Chinese and Japanese varieties can be aggressive. American wisteria grows slower, more politely, perfect for backyard pergolas. Train the vines early, weaving them along the beams, guiding them by hand until the plant begins to understand the rhythm of the frame. By late spring, it becomes a place not just to walk under, but to sit beneath, a book on the table, a cup of tea, soft shadows shifting on your hands. And if you time it right, petals will fall slowly as you rest, a quiet snowfall of purple in the warmest season of the year. Some paths don't just lead somewhere. They set a tone before you even take the first step. This arbor, standing patiently over a meandering cobblestone walkway, doesn't announce itself. It suggests. It hints. It welcomes you inward, as if into a memory you forgot you once had. Beneath it, The cobblestones are never quite even. Some dip, some rise. A few with a green soft sheen of moss where rain lingers. But together, they form a rhythm underfoot that slows you down, just enough to notice a lavender brushing your ankle or the hum of bees somewhere nearby. The arbor above, built from timber or iron, it hardly matters. Frames the walk like a sentence between two commas. You can make your own from aged wood or even repurpose beams. Let it lean ever so slightly, like it's lived through a few storms. Paint is optional. Time will add its own finish. Laying the cobblestone could be a weekend job or a lifelong project. No need for perfection. Mix large and small stones. Let them sit on a bed of sand or crushed gravel and invite creeping thyme or moss to fill the spaces. The goal isn't symmetry, it's softness. Over time, everything settles into itself. The arbor gathers shadows. The path collects stories. And each time you pass through, you're reminded that beauty doesn't always require scale. Just care and a place to begin. In the quietest corners of a garden, where thought becomes breath and breath becomes stillness, even structure can learn to listen. This arbor stands not to be seen, but to see, positioned just so, facing a small fountain whose water falls in rhythms older than memory. There's something deeply grounding about aligning a view. You walk through the arbor, and suddenly, your eye meets the soft spill of water into a stone basin. Behind you, the world feels distant. Ahead, there's movement without urgency, sound without noise, a framed moment that stays with you longer than expected. You can recreate this with intention, not expense. Start by identifying your fountain's focal point, whether the bubbling bowl, a lion's head spout on a wall, or even a bird bath with a gentle solar trickle. Then, place your arbor not over a path, but slightly before or behind it, so that standing beneath it aligns your gaze with the flow of water. The arbor can be wood, iron, or even a repurposed trellis frame. Don't over-decorate it. Let its lines remain open. A trailing vine, maybe honeysuckle or trailing jasmine, is enough to soften the edge. Surround the area with texture, gravel underfoot, clay pots filled with rosemary or mint, and stone, either natural or faux, to connect the water to the ground. Let the breeze carry scent and sound in equal measure. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, step beneath this arbor. Let the garden speak softly. Let the water remind you how to breathe. In that moment, framed by wood, grounded by stone, and held gently by the sky, you are exactly where you need to be. Some things are more beautiful because they've been allowed to age. This arbor, with its sturdy wooden legs and rust-dusted iron top, doesn't try to hide the years. It celebrates them, together. The materials speak a language of contrast. Soft grain and hard edge, warm wood and cold metal, permanence and decay. It feels like something you might discover on an old vineyard road in the countryside. The kind of structure that has withstood rain and sun, that leans just a little from time, but stands firm because someone once built it with care. To create this yourself, find balance in your materials. Use rough cedar, teak, or salvage beams to frame. Even mismatched posts can work. Across the top, repurpose an old iron gate, railing, or scroll panel. Embrace the rust. A clear matte sealant can protect the texture while keeping the patina. Bolt the iron to the wood, allowing the connection points to remain visible. Let vines do their part too. Morning glory, ivy, or even grape if you have the patience. As the plants grow, they soften the edges, blurring the lines between human and natural touch. Beneath this kind of arbor, you don't rush. You might rest your hand on the post as you pass, feeling the warmth in the wood, the coolness of iron. Maybe a spider has made a home in the corner. Maybe a leaf drifts down from above. These are not flaws. They are the garden's quiet signatures. And as light moves across it through the day, from shadow to golden spill, the arch becomes less of a structure and more of a presence. One that watches, one that remembers, one that belongs. Not every arbor is meant to welcome. Some are meant to suggest, to stand quietly and in between, dividing not with walls but with rhythm. This iron garden arch doesn't lead anywhere. It simply says, from here on, the garden shifts. Tall and open, it has no gate, no destination. Yet the moment you pass beneath it, something changes. On one side, there might be lawn. On the other, a sitting area, a vegetable patch, a flower bed. The arch marks the transition, not loudly, but like the turning of a page. You can build this effect with standalone wrought iron arbor. Even a lightweight one secure with stakes or ground spikes. Choose one with elegant scrolls or vintage motifs. Let rust bloom if it will. That patina is part of the poetry. No vines are required, though trailing ivy or clematis can soften the structure over time. Position it not at the edge of your space, but in the middle, like punctuation between thoughts. Frame it with planters, lanterns, or tall grass to heighten the visual cue. You're not directing movement. You're hinting at intention. Over time, the garden responds. Visitors slow as they approach it. Children dash beneath it. You pause, if only for a moment, before entering the next room of green. And in the stillness, the arbor becomes something more than decor. It becomes a marker of your garden's inner rhythm, a frame for movement, a pause between blooms. There's a kind of beauty that only time can create, not polished, not perfect, but softened by wind, rain, and the quiet passage of seasons. This scroll arbor, finished in fading bronze and streaked with patina, carries that quiet dignity into your garden. Its lines curve like music, delicate spirals and loops that mimic vines even before the real ones arrive. The bronze once gleamed, perhaps, but now it holds a greenish haze, like something ancient left behind by a courtyard centuries ago. And yet, it fits right here, among your ferns, your gravel paths, your pots filled with mint. To make one your own, start with a standard iron arbor, even new, then let the weather do its work. Or speed up the process with a DIY patina kit, a blend of coppery paint, followed by gentle vinegar or saltwater sprays to oxidize the finish. No need for perfection. Streaks and variation bring authenticity. Position it at the entry to a quiet corner, somewhere people don't rush through. Let vines like clematis or wisteria explore the curves. Place a small bench nearby or a lantern or nothing at all, because this arbor doesn't need decoration. It is the detail. It catches light without shining. It holds space without shouting. It feels like something that's been waiting, not just for placement, but for purpose. And when you walk past and run your hand along its side, warm in the sun, cool in the shade, you feel it. The softness of metal worn by memory. And your garden, in turn, feels older, wiser, more yours. Sometimes beauty grows sideways, not across open skies, but up walls where sun lingers longest. This arbor, affixed to a garden wall and softened by ivy, doesn't need space to make a statement. It simply hangs, breathes, and grows. At first, it may seem like a frame with no picture, a partial structure bolted to stone or brick. its arms reaching just a little into the air. But then the ivy arrives, and what was once empty becomes dense with life. Leaves spill like fabric. Tendrils weave in and out of light. The wall becomes something more than a boundary. It becomes a backdrop. To create it, choose a narrow wooden or iron trellis panel. Secure it vertically or arching slightly over a stucco, brick, or concrete wall. Use heavy-duty screws and anchors for strength. Paint it or let it weather. Then plant your ivy, English ivy for lush growth, or creeping fig for finer texture. With time, the vines will explore every line, every nailhead, every flaw in the wall. You'll trim occasionally, guide gently, but mostly you'll watch. This isn't a structure you walk through. It's one you lean against, sit beside, let frame the morning light. And when the wind moves, the ivy stirs like a whisper, making the wall breathe and the garden seem more alive than ever before. Some structures feel as though they've risen from the earth, not been placed upon it. This arbor, born from stone, softened by vines, seems less like it was built and more like it was found. The base is everything, not just for strength, but for soul. Short columns of stacked stone, real or crafted, root the posts into the garden with weight and texture. Each rock tells its own story. A chip here, a mossy edge there, cracks that collect water after rain. The arbor grows from them like a tree would, steady, slow, inevitable. Above, the vines take over. Wisteria, jasmine, or trumpet vine, something that drapes, cascades, and lives in motion. In spring, they fall like ribbons. In summer, they shade. In autumn, they tremble and twist. To recreate this, build or buy a basic arbor and mount each post into stone pillars. You can use retaining wall blocks, salvage bricks, or natural stone held with mortar or gravity. Plant your vines right at the base, letting their roots settle into the shade of the rock. Train them early, then step back. This arbor doesn't shout for attention. It invites slowness. It holds a memory of somewhere older, warmer, quieter, a place where things crumble beautifully, and where the garden teaches you to value time not in minutes, but in seasons. Some garden paths are not meant to wander. They are meant to lead, straight and narrow, framed by tall cypress. They pull the eye and the feet forward with quiet purpose. And at the center, as if waiting to greet you, stands the arbor. Its frame is simple, whether wood or pale iron, standing between shadows like a bridge between worlds. The cypress rise on either side like guardians, whisper in the breeze, their narrow silhouettes drawing light into vertical rhythm. You can build this design one layer at a time. Start with a straight gravel or stone path. Plant cypress in mirrored pairs, spacing them evenly and letting their roots find depth. Then place your arbor where the eye naturally rests at the midpoint or just beyond. Let the arbor be slightly lower than the trees, a pause in the rise. Paint it olive green or leave it bare. Plant climbing rosemary or grapevines if you wish, but the vertical drama of the trees may be enough. As the trees mature and the arbor weathers, the scene takes on weight. Guests walk slower. Shadows stretch longer. Your garden becomes not just space, but story, a living corridor of calm and ceremony. And when you walk this path alone, beneath the hush of cypress and the quiet grace of the arbor, you might find the world falls silent long enough for you to listen, truly, to your own breath. There's a reverence in climbing just a few steps when the world slows around you. This arbor, set atop moss-covered stones, doesn't sit in the garden. It rises from it, like a quiet threshold between the everyday and something softer. The stone beneath your feet is uneven, worn, each step edged in green, where moss is found in places rain rests and sunlight hesitates. The wood above is aged too, not out of neglect, but from time doing what time does best, gently refining. This isn't a grand staircase. It's just 3 or 4 shallow steps. Stack flat stones, lay old bricks, or carve into a small slope. Encourage moss by planting low around the joints or mist regularly in shaded corners. The arbor can be narrow, just wide enough for one person at a time. Let it feel personal. Place this design where it leads somewhere worth discovering. Maybe a bench, a bird bath, or just a circle of silence beneath trees. Add climbing vines if you wish, but they aren't necessary. Here, gravity and stillness are the decoration. Moss becomes your artist, and the arch your invitation. Because not all entries are meant for display. Some are meant to lift you gently, step by softened step, into a place where the garden grows quieter and the self feels more whole. Not every garden begins with land. Some begin with just a wall, a pot, and a desire to let something green climb toward the sky. This miniature trellis arbor was born from that longing, not to expand space, but to enrich it. Mounted to the edge of a balcony or against a modest patio wall, the structure stands quietly, a frame for something living. The wood might be no more than repurposed crate slats or bamboo poles. The trellis slants gently outward, inviting vines like scarlet runner beans, passion flower, or climbing rosemary to explore upward. Beneath it, small planters hold life. Ceramic pots in soft blues or terracotta, placed deliberately but not stiffly. You water them in the morning. You tie back shoots with twine. Slowly, the trellis disappears beneath green. The space it holds is just enough for a folding chair and a book. Maybe a candle, maybe coffee. The sound of birds, the murmur of wind through a street tree. These become the background music. You don't need acres. You don't need hedges. You only need vertical intention. The desire to give plants somewhere to grow and yourself somewhere to rest. And when evening comes and the trellis catches the last light like stained glass through green leaves, this miniature arbor becomes something greater. A reminder that beauty doesn't come from size, but from care.